Hello everyone, and welcome to the first part of our assessment training series. I'm Lee Babin and I'm thrilled to be your guide today. This training is revising SLOs using the SMART method. Now, what does that mean? Simply, we'll explore how to revise our student learning outcomes, or SLOs, to ensure they guide us in creating the best possible learning journey for our students. SLOs are clear goals about what our students should know or be able to do by the end of a course or program. By the end of this training, participants will recognize SLOs in need of improvement, modify current SLOs using the SMART method, and analyze connections between SLOs in relation to course and programmatic goals and objectives. Before diving into the SMART method, let's take a moment to touch upon another essential educational tool that can assist in crafting impactful SLOs, Bloom's taxonomy. Here's why Bloom's taxonomy is particularly useful. One, as you can see looking at the headers of Bloom's taxonomy, it is structured in levels that range from simply remembering facts at the base through creating original work at the top. This structure allows educators to gauge the depth of knowledge and skills being targeted in their SLOs depending on the level of learning expected and appropriate. Two, by referring to the taxonomy, educators can pick verbs that best align with what they want students to achieve, like remembering information or evaluating a complex concept. Three, when SLOs are rooted in Bloom's verbs, it becomes easier to design assessments that truly measure the intended learning outcome. Now, while Bloom's taxonomy is an invaluable tool, it's important to note that it's not the only means to select verbs for our SLOs. Different disciplines and contexts might require unique verbs that aren't explicitly listed in the taxonomy. However, for those seeking a structured starting point, Bloom's offers a well-charted path. Before we explore each letter, let's take a step back and understand why we're talking about SMART in the first place. SMART is an acronym that gives us a handy framework to sculpt clear, impactful student learning outcomes. Each letter in SMART guides us to consider a vital aspect of our outcome: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Using SMART to shape our SLOs ensures that they not only clearly communicate the learning goal to students, but also guide us, the educators, in developing and delivering the teaching material in a way that aligns with those goals. So it becomes our map, ensuring both the students and teaching are on a clear, structured path towards achieving those learning milestones. First, let's look at the S in SMART. S stands for specific. Imagine you're giving directions. You want to ensure they're clear so that the person can reach their destination without any confusion, right? Similarly, being specific with our SLOs means we're providing clear, unambiguous goals for what we want our students to learn or achieve. This clarity helps students understand exactly what's expected of them and guides us educators in designing teaching activities that steer them towards that destination. Let's take a look at an example of an outcome not specific and then change it to a specific example. Not specific. Understand history. The term understand is a commonly used verb, but it is rather ambiguous when it comes to SLOs. When we say understand, how can we tangibly measure a student understanding? And history is incredibly broad, spanning thousands of years and numerous civilizations. By being so expansive, we're not giving students a clear area of focus or providing ourselves a targeted teaching and assessment strategy. Specific. Identify major events leading to World War II. Here, the verb identify gives us a clear action that we can measure. And by zeroing in on major events leading to World War II, we've given a clear time frame and subject. This narrows down the learning scope and facilitates targeted teaching and assessments. Up next is the M, which stands for measurable. Think of this as being able to count or observe something. When an SLO is measurable, it means that we can observe students and clearly see whether or not they've mastered the skill or knowledge we're teaching. It's like having a ruler. We need a way to measure progress, achievement, and understanding. This doesn't just guide grading, but it also helps us identify if our teaching methods and content are effectively bridging the learning gaps. Now, an important point to remember here is that measurability often ties back to being specific. If we're not specific in what we expect, it becomes challenging to measure it. The measurable aspect means that we can observe what students are doing and then give feedback about those actions, whether it is through a rubric, a skills checklist, or some other form of data collection tool. So let's look at an example. Not measurable. Become familiar with programming languages. This isn't measurable because the term familiar is vague. How do we gauge familiarity? To what extent or depth? And which programming languages are we referring to? Again, it's not specific enough. Measurable. Develop a basic application using common programming structures. This SLO is clear and gives us something tangible to measure. Did the student develop the application using the necessary structures or not? Here, it would be assumed that the application and specific programming languages are topics of the course or program. It's also specific in what the expected task is, and that makes measurement so much more straightforward. When setting your learning outcomes, always ask yourself, can I measure this? How? If you find it challenging to answer, the SLO might need further refinement. Being specific and measurable go hand in hand, ensuring that both educators and students have a clear roadmap to success. As we proceed, let's explore A, achievable. Imagine setting a goal to climb Mount Everest next week with no prior training. Sounds unrealistic, right? Similarly, while we aim to challenge our students, we also need to ensure they're not set up for failure. Achievable SLOs are about balancing ambition with realism. We want to propel students to new heights, but ensure they have the ladders and scaffolds to get there. The time they have, the resources at their disposal, and the prior knowledge they come with all play into what's achievable. Remember, SLOs that are too easy won't challenge students, but those that are too hard can demoralize them. Striking that balance is key. Again, let's look at an example. Not achievable. Build a car engine from scratch. Building an engine requires a deep understanding of automotive engineering, specialized tools, and a lot of time, perhaps more than a typical course can offer. It's like asking a beginner chef to prepare a gourmet 5-course meal on their first day of learning how to cook. Let's make it achievable. Replace the transmission in a car. While still a challenging task, replacing a transmission, given proper guidance and resources, is a feasible goal for students in an automotive course. It narrows the task down to a specific component in action. When revising or creating SLOs, always question, can my students achieve this with what I'm offering in this course or program? Being achievable ensures that we're giving our students a genuine chance at success while still pushing their boundaries. Let's go to R, relevant. Imagine being trained to use a typewriter in today's digital age. It wouldn't make much sense, right? It's essential that what we teach and assess is not just theoretically sound, but that it has practical importance in today's context and for students' future. When we talk about relevance in SLOs, we're emphasizing the importance of ensuring that the skills or knowledge we aim to instill will serve students in their current academic pursuits, their subsequent studies, and, of course, in their careers. This ensures that the education provided isn't obsolete, but bridges the gap between academic learning and the real world, ultimately enriching the student's overall learning experience. Let's break down an example highlighted in the scenario above. And for the record, this one will be an accounting example. So not relevant. Type a financial statement with minimal typos. While accurate typing is a valuable skill, it doesn't particularly align with the core objectives of an accounting course. This goal emphasizes form over content. It's, again, like the chef example. It's like teaching a chef to present a dish beautifully, but with no regard for the taste of the food. Let's make that relevant. Create a financial statement using accounting software. Here, students are not just making a statement, but they're also employing modern tools widely used in the field of accounting. This SLO prepares them for real-world tasks they'll face in their careers, emphasizing both form and substance. So in wrapping up, always consider the big picture. Does your SLO align with current trends and practices? Will it prepare students for the next steps in their academic and professional journey? And remember, relevance ensures our students' time and effort leads to meaningful, applicable knowledge and skills. Finally, we have T, which stands for time-bound. Think of this as setting a due date for a task. Just like how we're motivated to finish an assignment when we know its due date, students are more focused when they know by when they need to master a skill or piece of knowledge. This clear timeline not only helps students plan their learning, but also provides educators with a structure to design lessons and assessments. One last time, let's look at an example. This time, though, we'll use an acceptable example that is just missing the time-bound piece. So not time-bound. Write an essay using all steps of the writing process. This outcome doesn't give students any indication of when they should have mastered this skill. It's like giving an assignment without a due date. So let's make it time-bound. By the end of a 3-week module, students will write an essay using all steps of the writing process. Here, students know that they have 3 weeks to understand and apply all the steps of the writing process in their essays. It provides a clear time frame to pace their learning. Using time-bound outcomes helps to give both students and educators a clear roadmap, ensuring a synchronized journey towards mastering the learning goals. For the next slide, we'll look at questions to ask when revising SLOs. As you can see, all questions here are matched with SMART. It's not enough to just create our SLOs. We have to revisit and refine them to ensure they're doing the job well. Think of it like tweaking a recipe to get it just right. We'll need to ask ourselves questions like, is the language clear and unambiguous? Can the outcome be assessed and measured accurately? And does the outcome align with program objectives and professional needs? All of these questions are important when you are looking to either create or revise your SLOs. Now, you should feel smarter when it comes to revising SLOs or creating new ones. Our exploration of the SMART method has equipped us with tools to draft and refine our SLOs, those crucial guides that navigate student learning in our courses and programs. But revising SLOs isn't just a one and done thing. It's an ongoing process where we continually revisit and refine to ensure they're hitting the mark, guiding our students effectively, and keeping courses and programs vibrant and relevant. Just like our teaching practices, our SLOs need to be dynamic and responsive to maintain the rich, impactful learning experiences we aim to provide. It's all about making sure our learning goals are clear, possible, and line up with what our courses and programs are trying to achieve. It's about ensuring we're providing learning experiences that are not just comprehensive, but also meaningful and valuable for our students' future paths. So, SMART is more than an acronym. It's a thoughtful approach towards making learning structured and purposeful. Our journey doesn't stop here. We've got another session coming up titled Curriculum Mapping. Here, we'll dive into how to line up our educational content with the SMART SLOs we've worked on today. So let's keep going, creating richer and more meaningful learning experiences for our students. I want to thank you all for being here for part 1 of our assessment training series. You're helping to develop a strong foundation toward making our educational journey even more impactful. See you next time.